Hello and welcome to a Thursday live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time on this Thursday, where the long all-star break in the NBA is now through. We are back in action. The home stretch of the NBA season resumes tonight. A very full slate for you in the NBA as everybody begins play following that all-star break. What a wild night it was on a Wednesday in college basketball, just a few days away from the month of March. As we always say, DRS, the madness does not wait until March. It was chaos on a Wednesday in late February. All of that and more over these next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, a couple road teams ranked in the top 20 last night went on the road and lost by 1 point here. Also a magical game down there in Alabama between the Florida Gators and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And yes, you nailed it as well. The NBA is back in our lives. Hot topics all the way through the college football playoff. We might be able to talk about this every single day until we kick off the 2024 season, because it seems like we're getting changes on a day-to-day basis. And I got to say right now, I don't hate these changes that I'm hearing.
Boo! Boo! For the changes, something that is not broke does not need fixing. We'll talk about what that latest update was last night following a meeting in Dallas, Texas on a Wednesday afternoon. We are going to start with college basketball, but before we do, let's bring in that SportsGrid radio audience here. Opening hour of a Thursday, live right here on the early line. You're listening on Sirius XM, channel 159. All of our radio terrestrial affiliates now in the fold as well. He is Donnie. I am Ben. A stunner last night in Baton Rouge between LSU and Kentucky. The Cats had won 3 straight games, ranked inside the top 20 this week, and were battling it out with LSU late throughout that basketball game. Rob Dillingham took over. Kentucky had a 1-point lead in the final seconds. LSU had an opportunity to go down and win it. Shot was blocked. Jordan Wright gets his own blocked shot attempt, throws it back up. Tyrell Ward, a prayer at the buzzer. It goes in. LSU pulls off the outright upset, booked as a 5.5-point home underdog, 75-74, the final in Baton Rouge.
This is the curse of Kentucky right now, how talented they are, but still not able to put it together yet. Still a couple games left in the regular season in the SEC, and then, of course, the conference tournament. But you can't lose these games. Like, yes, it is tough to win on the road, but a 6-0 run to start that second half and up by 15 points Kentucky was, to end up losing that game is utterly ridiculous here. But those are the learning curve games you're going to need for a Kentucky team that has a lot of young players. Maybe they'll learn something from that. But this is also why I look at Kentucky as a legitimate chance to make a run in the tournament, and at the same time, Ben, a legitimate chance to make the tournament and get bounced early.
LSU has now won outright as an underdog in 2 consecutive games against a ranked SEC foe. They blasted South Carolina over the weekend and knocking off Kentucky last night. The Tigers have had to come back from a 15-point deficit in both. They do so. What a game it was in Tuscaloosa as we stay in the SEC. A very lofty total, the over-under 174.5 pregame between Alabama and Florida. Our only top 25 tilt, ranked versus ranked last night. It goes to the extra session, and in overtime, the Crimson Tide pull away. 98-93 over that number of 174.5, but Florida does cover as a 7.5-point road underdog.
Got the all-important cover in that game, as we saw this balloon at some outlets here, Ben, up to 10 points at game time. And quite frankly, the Florida Gators were the better team for 99% of and still came away with the loss. It was a fun game overall, but sometimes when the handicaps land perfectly here, Florida doesn't have a very good defense, but the one thing they can do is disrupt your three-point game. Only 25% from the three-point range for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Still good enough for them to win that game in overtime here, but we got the cover with the Florida Gators, and that's what's most important to me.
42 combined points for the Tide's 2 transfers last night. Grant Nelson, 22 from North Dakota State. Aaron Estrada, the pride of Hofstra, now in Tuscaloosa. 20 points for the Crimson Tide as well. They have been great at home in SEC play, even dating back to last season. What a wild ride it was last night inside Rec Hall, not Bryce Jordan, Rec Hall in State College, Pennsylvania. Penn State down by 10 points with 2.5 minutes against 12th ranked Illinois. They were down by 7 under 40 seconds remaining. The Nittany Lions storm all the way back and then storm the floor inside Rec Hall. Penn State pulls off a stunner, 90-89, the victory for the Nittany Lions. They win outright as a 7.5-point home underdog.
I thought it was a great matchup for Illinois. And again, for 80% of that game, it was a great matchup, and it was a cover for Illinois. But not only did they not cover, they blew that game late. And it's one of those where you see coming. If you just watch the highlights of the final minute, you need like 6 things to go your way if you're Penn State just to be in that ball game. And they didn't get 6 things, Ben. They got 7 things to go their way in an outright victory here, 90-89. Bad loss for Illinois. I thought they would handle their business fairly easily, and they didn't. They didn't even win the game.
Jameel Brown made a 3-pointer for the Nittany Lions with 35 seconds left, then forced a steal on the ensuing inbounds pass to Puff Johnson, put back up and in for a layup. And then Coleman Hawkins missed 2 free throws. One of the all-time smack talkers in the Big Ten misses 2 from the charity stripe and then fouls Zach Hicks on a 3-point attempt. And Hicks made all 3 free throws to give Penn State a massive upset at home. Duke, meanwhile, not upset on the road against Miami. The Blue Devils have now won 16 of their last 18 and make that 5 straight, an 84-55 rout on the road in Coral Gables against Miami. The Dukies cover as a 6.5-point favorite. Donnie playing their best basketball here as we approach March.
Yeah, I thought they would win going away in this one. Miami just hasn't been the Miami we expect them to be this season, coming off of a great run last year. And by the way, they don't defend the 3-point line, and Duke took advantage of that. 13 from 29, which is good for 45%, pasting the Miami Hurricanes. And one of those games, it's like, hey, Miami, do you want to make a last stand here? You're at home. You got to be able to beat a top 10 team. Weren't able to do that. Not only that, they got smoked at home, Ben.
MLS opener for Inter Miami. Leo Messi, an assist. Luis Suarez, his debut for Inter Miami. They knock off Real Salt Lake 2-0. Is it Real Salt Lake if we're in the States, or is it Real because it's soccer?
Yeah, it's a real Salt Lake out there in Utah, so it should be Real Salt Lake. Come on.
A 2-0 win for Inter Miami in their MLS debut this season. College football playoff expansion after expansion, which hasn't even technically started yet. We haven't played a game in the 12-team format, and they're already talking about 14 teams starting in 2026.
Yeah, the NCAA listens to this show. Like that boy Donnie Rightside got some ideas. Let's not stop here. Let's keep moving the charts, baby. More teams in the playoff, more fun for everyone.
The NCAA doesn't control the college football playoff. Gleyber Torres, by the way, wants to remain a Yankee for life despite being an impending free agent. College basketball next.